Good morning. This is Desiree Dubois, founder of An Empowered Woman and Homework. And homework is where you can live where you work where you live, anywhere in the world. Every Wednesday morning, we meet for coffee and conversation. Our members share their businesses, their products, their programs, and their services to our community. Today, our guest is Beth Johnston, and she is the founder of the Global Women's International Empowered Global Society, International Empowered Women. Did I say it correctly? Are you're
If
like
close, it's the Global
close?
Society of Empowered Women,
Okay, Global Society of Empowered Women. It's an
the
also
GSEW.
CSEW. So thank you so much for joining us today, Beth.
Oh,
How are you
thank you.
doing?
Truly my pleasure to be here with you and all your other guests. Thank you.
You're welcome. So tell us what you're doing.
What we're doing, you know what? We, and it's not I, it is definitely we, because we are a group of people, and it's about the team all working together. So what the Global Society of Empowered Women does is represent what women are doing all over the world. It's helping other women. It's helping other women to achieve their personal and professional goals, to even be able to identify what those goals are, what the possibilities are, and what the plan for achieving those goals will be, and then how to get on to the next stage of their growth.
So you've been doing it for how long? How long
Oh
have
my
you had
goodness, we've
it?
been doing this. Well, you know what? Truth be told, under that name for many, many years. But I believe that we've kind of all women who do this, we're doing it all of our lives. Whatever you call yourself, it's not just the name of your company. I don't think it's just what you're doing. I really think it speaks to who we are as individuals and who we are as a group of women. So I would like to say that I've kind of been doing this my whole life, which is a very long time.
And so the focus of your group, what are the most of your ladies focus on? What do you focus on? Do you meet regularly, weekly, monthly, annually? Is it seminars, workshops? So what is the program of your society?
Right. Thank you. I'm the connector. My goal is, as the hub of the organization, if you will, as the founder, is to share information. We have women on 6 different continents. So clearly, there is never a day, a time where anything is convenient for everybody simultaneously. We all deal with that. So we send out information so that they can participate in what they choose to participate in at a time that is convenient for them. So a lot of recordings, a lot of links. What I love to do is to ferret great resources, resources that I think will be of great value to other women. Now, we have tens of thousands of women in the GSEW, women who are in all stages of development, all levels of education, all economic levels. You know, it's not everybody is a 6 or 7 plus figure earner, but many aspire to be, and we're going to try to help get them there. So our goal is to say nobody knows everything, nothing is absolute, but we can connect you to great resources like homework, as an example, and just widen everybody's reach and broaden everybody's perspective of who and what might be of great value to them.
So you say different resources, are they different, different programs? Are they business related or personal related, or give us an example of some of our variety?
It has to be a variety because, as I said, our membership is so diverse. It's women of every ethnicity, every educational level, every from every type of industry, from every um, stage, as I said, of their own personal and professional development. So it has to be diverse. I truly believe, though, that we do a very good job at finding what we think will have the most universal appeal, meaning to women, to their families, their communities. And in making those offers, every woman will find herself. She'll find where she fits into that opportunity or not, or not. So
Mhm.
our goal is to provide the information, to share the opportunity, and then let every woman put those resources to work for herself.
Okay. And what's interesting that most of the majority of the ladies here have participated in our Power of Seven program. And that's a program where we talk about, getting your own videos and becoming an author and affiliates and sponsors and so forth. And I mentioned to them is that sometimes people create an organization where they build a community like you have, and they share different resources with them as an affiliate partner. So that way, that as it, that way, if people, if it's applicable to the person, they participate, then it works as a, as a, we say affiliate partner or affiliate sponsor, different things like that. So I was looking through your website, and I admire the fact that you has, created that perfect example, because we talked about it even yesterday about how to utilize it and how to be able to monetize it and grow a community, providing them service, but also being able to support, the cause of your business.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know that word affiliate, it's such a wonderful, smart, and practical way for women to uh, grow their own businesses. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit, I think, through the pivot. And it's just plugging in. It's plugging into what another expert has done. And
Mm-hmm.
for any organization or any individual to pretend to fool anybody that he or it or she is the absolute expert on everything is just foolhardy. So I believe in total transparency and say one of my areas of expertise is to find those great resources that are
Mm-hmm.
beyond my area of specific expertise, but my expertise is to find those resources. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel that it is like a moral responsibility to, why wouldn't you share that if you knew that something were good for somebody else? How couldn't you share it?
Exactly, exactly. And that's exactly because we spent time on that. And like you said, affiliate is just about collaboration. It's just about a collaboration, whether it's been in so many different ways. Even if you, like you said, if you have the expertise, or why not bring someone else that even has it even more to be able to support their business. So there's different ways of being able to look at it. And that's the best way, is that I'm so help supporting you and you're help supporting me, and to be
Right.
able to build that. So you've done that, then you've incorporated some programs yourself called the Pivot. So tell us about the pivot.
Yeah, the pivot, PIVOT, stands for put increased value on technology. And just so everybody understands the way that that term is being used right now through the pandemic, you hear it all over the place. You have to pivot, you have to pivot, you have to pivot. And I started to think, well, what do people, but nobody was defining what they meant by that. And I'm someone who always believes that the first thing you have to do is define your terms so that everybody's actually in the same conversation, understanding everything the same way, and
Mhm.
also establish a timeline. So we kept hearing this pivot, pivot, pivot. And it's kind of a universal term, but it's specifically used in many sports. And in the sports world, particularly basketball, my favorite, it's about keeping your pivot foot still. And then you can take your other foot and move all around, but you leave that one foot in place. That's your pivot foot. If you move that foot, well, it's an infraction in the game of basketball. But I think it's very telling as to what that is. So we view at the GSEW that the pivot is to stay very grounded. You can't change everything about who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing it. It would be wrong for anybody to tell you to do that. And as a coach, I could never, ever tell anybody to do that. So we look at it and say, sometimes you just need to keep that pivot foot still and just make little moves, make slight changes, and see where that takes you. See where a slight change in how you're perceiving something or communicating about something or participating in something makes a difference. And you can always pivot a little bit more. And every time, and when I do a lot of sales training, I say, if you change by 1 degree every day in 90 days, 3 months, you would have made a complete left or right hand turn, and you're no longer even in the same place. So pivoting has to be careful. It doesn't mean recreate yourself, not to be confused with continue to strive to make yourself better at what you're doing. So we trademarked pivot to put increased value on technology. Why? And particularly for women, because through the COVID days, women have been challenged in so many ways. And as women typically do, we rise to the occasion. So for many women, particularly here in the United States, they've left corporate America at a ratio, by the way, of 3 to 1 to men. Why? Because they needed to pivot. They needed to not my use of the term. They needed to change something. They needed to respond to the circumstance. They needed to find something that they could do differently and that they had to do differently to meet the needs. And in this case, what were the needs? Who were the needy? In most cases for the women, it was their family. And what woman can have a better cause than her own children and her own family? So women at home, we're taking advantage of it right now in a very simple way using Zoom. It's a technology. So it gives us coast to coast here in the United States and north of the border from the United States into Canada to all be present on this call. That's a great use of a very simple technology. Now, I must say, when it comes to technology, that's not in my wheelhouse. That's not what I'm about at all. But I was smart enough in making my own pivot for this reason and others to say there are wonderful resources out there, and women are smart and women are practical. Just plug into them. Take advantage of existing technologies, whether it's Zoom or anything else, because Desiree, you know, live where you work where you live. Women have discovered that possibility and are experiencing that reality right now. Whether they planned it or not, it's here and we're doing it. So you can live where you work, you can work where you live, plug into technology. So specific to the GSEW, and we're going to just keep adding them all the time, we just focused a little bit more on some of our affiliate partners to say, this is technology. All you have to do is plug into it. A lot of women are experiencing now or realizing their desire, their capacity, which is even better, to become entrepreneurial. So how do they do that? Do you have to stop and totally reinvent the whole wheel? No, no, that would be foolhardy to do that. And women are too smart and too practical to do that. So plug into the technologies that exist, plug into those that will work best for you, depending on what it is that you want to do so that you can meet your market, whether it's communicating with your team, your employees, your customers, what have you. So I'm just discovering for myself as a total non-techie, like, oh my gosh, this is so much more simple than I imagined it could be. Even I can do it. Even I can do this. And I figure if I can do it, anybody can do it. So that's the importance of putting increased value on technology to support what your goals are.
So do you see some women, as far as their businesses, when businesswomen and entrepreneurs, not reaching their goals or not reaching their potential? Have you seen over the years some of the women?
Well, I think we've always seen that, and we've seen
Mhm,
that for a variety of reasons. We've
mhm,
seen that for just gender discrimination that sadly does continue. As I said earlier, the ratio of people leaving corporate America during the pandemic is 3 to 1. So 75% of people who have left their corporate position are women. Why? It's the hand that rocks the cradle. It's the hand that
mhm.
rocks the cradle. So there will always be reasons why some women, and listen, it's a choice. And what better choice could a woman make early in her career, perhaps, to step back from it, to begin and then to raise a family? And then re entering the workplace can put her at a deficit. So, my hope for women and my belief in women is that we are all discovering ways that we might not have had a reason to think were possible for us to reach those goals. You don't have to get back on a train or a bus or drive your car. I had a 3 hour round trip commute to work every day. I'm like, was I crazy? 3 hours of my day? That was like working 2 extra days a week. And now I'm like, I'm doing, the same thing, sitting, in my home, in an office that I created in my home, so that I can get all of that accomplished and more. So I think for women to reach their goals, I think a lot of women, and I pray this for women, and I pray it for the world, because it's going to have a post pandemic. I think women in leadership are truly going to make such an impact on the world because we're realizing that more is possible for us to do. And even more importantly than that, Desiree, is that because so many women are home with their children now, their followers are their children. Their leadership role, as well, it's always been to lead the family, but now in more in different ways. So now they're raising their children truly by example. True, and if children are being homeschooled and the mom is home with them all the time, and it's not to say that many dads are not as well, but I think post pandemic, it's going to change. I think women in leadership roles doesn't mean they're going back to corporate America. It doesn't mean they're going to seek to have the corner office. Um, they're going to lead in different ways, and I think those ways, maybe they're quite organic. I think they're game changers for the whole world. I really do.
So I'm going to ask you some of the questions that we had here. So, how women in business and women entrepreneurs benefit from putting increased value in technology. I think you answered that. You know that the fact that to putting that technology, utilizing the technology to its fullest extent, and working with thousands of women. How do you identify how women get in their own way when it comes to starting or growing or sustaining a business?
I have experienced this for so long, and it's really what it pains me in a way. Women are very hard on other women many times. I think we all can acknowledge that. Women
Mhm.
can be very, very judgmental of other women, and yet women continue to go back to women for permission, for approval on certain things. And I think that that's been part of it, to be honest with you. And I've spoken with so many women, coached so many women, and they share the dream. And that's always beautiful when someone shares a dream. It's such a personal thing. And I might have said to some of them, well, when did you have this dream? When did this dream become real in your life? 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And you kind of want to go, "Ugh," but you don't do that. Can't do it on Zoom. And it hurts my heart that someone is dreaming the same dream, and it could have been a beautiful dream of 20 or even 10 years or 5 years ago. It doesn't have to be all that long. And they're still just dreaming it because it's just a dream. If you don't put it into action, it will always be just a dream. And as beautiful a dream as it might be, one day it could turn into a regret. And what I promised myself to the best of my ability was to live a regret-free life. And it's kind of impossible to do, but to do my best, not to look back and say, gee, I wonder what would have happened if. I know. Was everything a success? No. Was everything a lesson learned to move forward? Absolutely. So maybe I didn't love the outcome, but I don't regret the experience and the lesson that I learned from it. So for women, we can become very stubborn. We want to prove things a lot of times. We want to prove that we're right a lot of times. We don't want, and listen, I don't believe in dream stealers. Get them out of your life. Stop talking to the people who are trying to steal your dreams. And change from being persistent to being perseverant. And I hear those two terms often used interchangeably, and I view them as very, very different. Persistence, which women tend to be with their business goals that they dream about, is they keep banging their head against the wall, thinking, oh, eventually this is going to feel good. I'm just going to keep doing this, and eventually this is going to feel, it's not, it's never going to feel good. But being perseverant is being smart and saying, it goes back to the pivot. Just change, just move a little bit, change the dream. And if you're still dreaming a dream from too many years ago, it's going to remain a dream and might become a nightmare at one point that you never did. What I'm saying is that yesteryear, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and certainly more than that, is not the world that we're living in now. Everything has changed in large part because of technology. So I think that that's the barricade that women put into their own lives, is wanting to prove that they were right, wanting to prove that they could do it, and you can, but you have to be resilient, you have to be flexible, you have to change with the times, you have to change with the market, you have to change with all circumstances as we're living now. And the other thing, Desiree, that I just reminded myself that a lot of women said, because I have a great idea, and I would always say, is it okay? May I ask? And you don't have to answer me. Do you want to share your idea? And they'll share an idea, and it's sometimes pretty clever, sometimes very What are you thinking? And then they want to go out and try to create the market for it. It's never the way to start a business. You have to identify the market and the problem in that marketplace. And then your idea, if you have a great idea, is the solution to that problem in an existing marketplace. And listen, I'm a woman who had some of those ideas, who I think this is great. And I realized, but who's going to buy it? Who's the market for that? So women have to be smart enough, find a good mentor, find a great business coach, trying to find a transformational thinker as far as coaching goes, and share your ideas very openly and honestly, and be willing to be on the other side of communication, which is the giving and the receiving of information, and take good advice and put it to work for yourself the best way that you can. And I would say to a woman, do you want to be right or do you want to have results? Do you just want to be right or do you really want to be successful? There's a difference. So women, we need to get out of our own way sometimes. I think the pandemic is going to change that.
Agreed. Okay, so how has the well, the women who are in business or aspire to be? So how has the pandemic affected women who are in business and aspire to be? So we know some obvious ways as far as the ones that actually had to, leave and work from home and so forth. But what other ways has it affected their business? And
Well,
especially the one.
a lot of women walked away from a paycheck. A lot of women walked away from income to be there for their family. And a regrettable thing that they had to do, and that there might not have been an alternative. But I'm a very optimistic person, Desiree. I look for the silver lining in every cloud. Look for the rainbow after this. Look for the lessons learned. Something good has to come out of this tragedy that we've all been living now for, what, 15 months or so. And what I pray for every individual woman is that she finds strength that she might not have known that she had, that she finds a desire, a spirit. She can redefine her own passion and say, how can I put that to work for myself? Now, there's a lot of women who left corporate America, let's say an accountant, let's say an attorney, nurses. They were part of a corporate structure, but these women have education, they have credentials, they have licensure. There are ways for them now to put their skills and their experience, which is wisdom. When you have the knowledge and the experience, you're now a wise person. And to find a way to continue to use all of that wisdom to serve, because the market didn't go away, to serve in a different way, to serve that maybe you reverse engineer your own life and say, I don't have to be in an office setting with 9 other accountants. I can find my own clients and I can work from home. I can provide home health care as a nurse. I don't have to go back to a hospital and be part of that. So I think that women, listen, we're creative, we're innovative, we're resourceful. And I think that that's an upside of all of this, that women are going to discover entrepreneurial ways for them to continue to be true to themselves, put their passion back into work for others, and to find, as I say, the upside of all of this for themselves. I really hope that that's true for millions of women around the world.
And what advice would you share with the women who aspire to be in business, who are, planning to launch a business last year and all of a sudden either had to put on the brakes or had to, I said some of them had to pivot or redesign their programs. What advice would you like to share with that in regards to
Go
that?
for it. Go for it. Look back and say, I'm an eternal optimist. People tell me, take off your rose-colored glasses. And I say, well, the world looks prettier through rose-colored glasses, actually. So I would look at it, and I've done this. And I've said for myself, okay, if I had done this a year ago, whatever it might have been, where might I be now? Maybe it was a good thing that I didn't do it. Believe in yourself, believe in the energy of the universe, believe in whatever it is that you choose to believe to say, this is the only thing that I can deal with now. Don't look back. Don't live with regret. Don't use it as an excuse not to move forward if that's truly what you wish to do and are in a position to do it. Don't use this as an excuse. Honor yourself, honor your dreams, go back and dust it off, pivot to the degree that you have to or that you can, and move forward. Just move forward. And you might find that somehow that it was a blessing in disguise, that you have a different way of looking at it and you're approaching it maybe from a stronger perspective. Or maybe that, oh my God, I have to do this. I have to do something to get out of the house. I have to get away from my husband and my kids. Whatever the reason might be, something that's going to motivate you to keep going forward.
The thing is I think what's, for some people, especially those who are just starting, it was actually, for many, it was actually a blessing in the sense that now they can realize a way to start more economically, because some of them maybe were trying to open up a brick and mortar or get large
Yes.
investments for sign a lease or to commit to some really big obligations,
Mm-hmm.
that they're able now to have had to be able to recreate it in a way that they can do it unless more economical by doing it virtually. Then also many times they're able to expand their marketplace because they're now,
Mm-hmm.
instead of being in local, they're able to fulfill business throughout the United States or throughout the world technically. So they've actually just really been able to expand their marketplace. And many times, again, the startup costs and the maintenance costs and their time has been reduced. Because like you mentioned, even if it's just travel time back and forth, 3 hours a day times 5 is 15 hours a week. That's a lot of time that you can either be spending on yourself or your family or on your business that you didn't have before,
Absolutely.
you
Yes.
wouldn't have had. So there's many ways, and now people have had to say, okay, now this is what I have to work with. How do I utilize the technology? And you mentioned the technology like being Zoom, but there's so much, so much other, whether it's using technology for podcasts, whether it's using technology for videos, technology for communication, whether it's a website technology, whether it's technology used for organization like the Trello or Monday Club, technology that you can utilize for even your taxes for your
Yep.
team. There's Gusto. There's so many different technology. Even like we talked yesterday about was it Focus? What was it, Don? Focus app.
Focus Mate.
Focus
Focus
Mate.
Mate.
If you have a trouble, if you have Focus Mate, if you have a problem focusing on your projects and getting them done, you can get a mate that's anywhere in the world for $5 a month. So there's so much technology, whether creating your own images through Canva, whether it's creating, again, doing your editing. There's so many things utilizing fitted photographs for Animoto, creating videos. So these are the technology. There's so much technology almost on anything that you want to do, for delivering, for implementing, for following up, for just everything, from the constant contacts to the paperless posts
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
having things ordered, as opposed to Amazon. Perfect example, things that we've been running to the store for. Now we're able to utilize the technology and have it delivered, so much use on technology. And if I think everyone, if they thought about what they use every day, that list would be very, very long. Because I would like to hear from the ladies as far as their questions would be. But there was one other question that you mentioned, is that what should be their next steps and where should we go from here? What should the ladies' next steps be?
Reconnect with yourself. Number one, sit down, kind of become a little introspective and say, what is it that I want to do? Where am I now? Where do I want to be tomorrow and next week and next month, next year, etc. And come up with a plan and see if there's a thread that goes through it all. If you're all over the place, that's your first indication that you might need a coach or someone, an accountability partner to some extent, to talk that out with somebody. Finding a coach, a mentor, is such a smart thing to do. And I know some people kind of looked at it almost as a weakness. And I said, oh, no, no, no. The best in any field, the best entertainers, the best athletes, the best business people all have their go-to person. They
Some of them
all
have a
have
couple.
that.
Some have a business coach, a personal coach,
Exactly.
they have, some of them have, that's
Right.
part of their
So
team.
find the best person for you. Your best friend is your best friend, not always your best coach, not always your best mentor. Find someone who you can communicate with, and that is the key to everything. Find someone that you're comfortable with. Find someone who you believe you can identify with and be very transparent on both sides of that conversation and be very, very truthful with, and then accept that process, because it's the process that's important. Everybody's focused on the goal. Everybody's focused on the where I'm going. And while you have to know what that is so that you can chart your course, It's the process that gets you there. It's not thinking from A to Z in one fell swoop that it gets you there. It's the process of one step at a time, one day at a time that gets you there. And what you'll find if you properly course that, rather chart that course, that by the time you're approaching it, you've probably moved that destination. You've probably changed that goal because you've learned as you've gone along. And you might realize, well, I need to make a pivot. I need to realize, oh, that didn't work so well. I need to, just go off a couple of degrees in this direction. I need to stop for a second and rethink. And that where you thought you were going when you began is really not where you need to end up. And ultimately might not be where you end up. But where you end up is the result of the process. So people start, oh, why do you want to go into business? I want to make a lot of money. Okay, I get that. That's a great vision. That's a great goal. But how are you going to do that? What's the plan for doing that? That's not the process. That's a vision. That's a goal. That's where you want to get to. But understand, so a mentor, a coach, somebody that you can communicate is the important word. Communicate with and be very, very transparent. And doesn't mean you have to agree on everything. A coach is supposed to open up your mind. A coach is supposed to make you think. And what I've done, I've coached mostly, well, really all women. And as you're talking to them, it's a self-discovery process. They're like, oh, and that's the best sound I can hear on the other end of the phone or the Zoom. It's not like, thank you for telling me that. It's like, oh, I just discovered that for myself. You just made me realize we all have the answers, Dorothy. You could get home all the time, Dorothy. You just had to click your heels together. The Wizard of Oz taught us all of that. We all have it. So it's just knowing where you are today, where you want to go, and find someone that you would like to share that journey with on a professional basis, not your family, not your friends, but someone who is just going to help guide you along the way. And you know what? That's a beautiful relationship to have with someone that can be objective with you. Be very, very objective with you. Not always easy for friends and family, if ever, to be objective with you. They want to protect you. They want to be too subjective. And they want to protect themselves too by never being responsible if something didn't work out because they told you to do it that way. That's just human nature. So find a coach, find a mentor.
Okay, so I'm going to peep in the chat, or Dawn, if you're able to see the chat. I think Dawn's always.
Yep, there was one question from Sanwi. She said, good morning. Do you think that women earning 77 cents to men earning $1 is incentive to leave the workplace and increase their earning power?
Well, first of all, let me comment on the fact of the ratio of the earnings. I said earlier, the role of women and men in the workplace there's always been gender discrimination. It's gotten a little bit better, but no, I don't think that's a good place to be. I think we all need to advocate for each other to change that. But if a woman has the opportunity to leave a corporate workspace and can go and do what sings more loudly and more beautifully to her own heart, whether it's in that field or something else, and make more money, I hate the term no-brainer, but that's kind of a no-brainer. But women have to realize that there are certain things that we should honor about being an employee, about being in a corporate world, other benefits that come along with it. You have to consider all the other factors that if you go out on your own that you would have to cover the cost of, particularly health insurance here in the United States. I know in other places it's different. Setting up the office, doing your marketing. It begins with the desire, it begins with the passion to do it, but there are very, very practical perspectives that you have to add to that. Yeah, you really do. You have to add all of that and then assess. Really, at the end of the day, if you have a 401k that a company is contributing to and now you're not getting that, you have to assess the whole picture. But no, women should not earn less than men for the same job, which even if it's in the same job title and the same job description, they're usually doing more work and earning less money.
Well, another thing though I'd like to bring up is that fortunately, as entrepreneurs, we have more control over that. If you have your own business, you're able to set your own prices, and so this relies upon you to market and to get that business. Fortunately, now I think more opportunities are opening up between women getting the grants. I mean, people, a lot of the companies and corporations are including more diversity as well as more women-led projects. So, but the thing is that you, as an entrepreneur, I think you can be able to set your own prices, and you don't have to work with that ceiling that you're working with. And it's just, but the weight, the bears on you to be able to get out there and promote and get those grants and get those contracts,
Right, right,
contracts that are going to pay you equally. But I
right.
think now that for those type of things, independent things, it's pretty competitive. It
But
can
the
be
point
pretty
is to have a
competitive.
plan. I've seen a lot of women who, on an emotional whim, if you will, and that's maybe um, trivializing it a little bit, walked out of a situation and maybe looked back and said, I shouldn't have done that. You just have to have a plan, and you have to be able to financially bridge yourself from leaving one income to creating another. And yes, to your point, Desiree, in the marketplace, you can establish your own prices, but you have to be competitive in the marketplace
Mhm.
and know how to compete in that space. That requires a lot of marketing, and marketing is a very, very necessary part of business and a very expensive part of it.
Also, too, you have to decide whether you're an entrepreneur or not. Not everyone, some people are best in the corporate world as opposed to being an entrepreneur. So I think that's one of the first things you have to assess is that not only, like you mentioned, the benefits of being in the corporate world, versus being an entrepreneur, but is that for you? Are you cut out to be an entrepreneur? Because if you're
Desiree, that
not,
is such a, yeah,
it'll be more expensive because you won't ever push it yourself or push
no,
the envelope as far as you need to push to be able to make the money, whether it's equal or not equal to men, you still be able to make it, period.
that is such a great point you have made, and thank you for making that. I've spoken to so many groups, who've come together as entrepreneurs, at retreats and whatnot, and I've said, right out, like you, Desiree, I've been an entrepreneur, since I'm a little kid. I didn't know what the word was, couldn't spell it, couldn't say it, but I was it. And I look at it like everything has, assets and liabilities. It's a gift if you have it, and it's a curse if you have it. And you have to take both ends of it. Assets always equal liabilities, I say, as we know. And if you love the ability to clock in at 5 o'clock and punch out at 9 to 5 or whatever the hours are and go home and not have to think about work again, um, you have, to your point, yes, you have to assess that. But always have a plan. Always have a plan
Okay,
and a
what other
budget.
questions? What other conversation? What other comments? Ladies, this is your coffee and conversation. So
Yeah,
we're
there
open.
weren't any more in the chat.
Well, who
So,
likes to say something? Let's get your conversation. Who has a thought, an idea, a perspective?
I do.
Yes.
Um, because I recently retired, I've been working on my businesses, my two businesses, for the last 15 years, part-time. And I put in the chat, part-time, nighttime, lunchtime, whatever, during the day hours, at work, on my computer at work with my thumb drive, doing what I needed to do, using my phone. So no, I never stopped doing what I do. And now with Zoom, it's amazing because my classes I teach, I'm teaching via Zoom, even through the colleges. Even with me moving, I have two districts that want me to stay on teaching, still teaching online, which is great. So I can be anywhere, do it anywhere. And I've, with Zoom, been able to create webinars of my classes by recording, doing them. So the evolution of technology has made it so much easier to, and my cost of living will be going down. I'm not driving around. I'm not schlepping all these things to the colleges and parking and doing and all of that. So it's really just believe in yourself and believe in what you want to do, and naysayers can go away.
That's right. Good for you, Frances, and congratulations on your retirement and your successful businesses. There's kind of, I don't want to say a saying, but I've said it a number of times. No matter what it is you're doing, so you say you've been working on your now post And don't women have a strange definition of retirement? She's now, retired so I can work on my own business. Women just never stop. So, you're such proof positive that you can do anything full-time or part-time, but not some of the time. You can't like drop in and out of business. You can't, so you were committed to it. So you worked, it sounds like, Frances, correct me if I'm wrong, that under the circumstances when you were working, you utilized the time that you could when you had it to
Yes.
be building up. So now all these years later, here you are, but you kept growing. You weren't just thinking about it. You were in action. You were moving. So
Right. It was a progress from idea and evolution of technology, literally, and people asking me questions, and I just start answering and realized other people need to know this information. So it got developed. So it's really being open to change.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think, so you said about 15 years. So you've been doing it, for 15 years when you could. Do you think that if you looked back from where you are now to those 15 years ago, you're doing the exact same thing the exact same way?
No.
No, you can't be. So you've enjoyed that growth. You've enjoyed. Awesome. Oh, that's so wonderful. Good for you, Frances.
It's funny, I'm going through files and going through things to shred and get rid of and clear out. And I see my beginning brochures I used to sell things, and my typesetter. Who needs a typesetter anymore? So it's evolution of things and how I did things is just amazing, but it was fun to see these things as I shredded them.
Get rid of it and release it and be proud of the fact that you did those things and you're better off now. So to my previous point, you've lived that process. You've lived that growth for all those years, and you are where you are now, probably with new goals, higher goals, new aspirations. And the great thing about technology is it's not catching up to us. We're catching up to it, and it's going to change forever and ever and ever. So for people like me who are so non-techie, I just am so grateful for it. And all you have to do is go to the big technology, go to Google, and you'll find the technology for any other resource or area of expertise that you need. You'll find it there.
Fantastic. Thank you for contributing, Frances. Who else has an example? Who else wants to share an observation?
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. Beth, I have a tendency to work with network marketing companies. I just wanted to know your opinion of that. I've worked with a number of different companies. Right now I'm doing Secret, but I've done Avon, I've done Princess House, Mary Kay. What is your feelings about that, network marketing companies as an entrepreneur?
I will tell you that historically, more millionaires have been made through network marketing companies. And when you say a network marketing company, with some of that you mentioned, you're including, I think, multi-level marketing companies. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
Yeah. So more millionaires have been made through network marketing than through corporate America over the same time span. So what I would say is that's proof positive that it can be very lucrative. And it is evolving. Talk about evolving. Talk about an industry that is evolving. It is network marketing, because the old, and to their credit, what worked 10 years ago, we shouldn't even be doing now. So those models have changed. They've only gotten better. A lot of network marketing companies now are going to binary compensation plans, as opposed to these compensation plans that are 7 and 10 people deep, that you don't even know, if you're coming or going, or who's in your line, or who you lost. They made it very, very complicated. A lot of people resented that because the 2080 law, 20% of the people were making 80% of the money. That's true in corporate America too, by the way. Or is it the 90-10, that rule? So what they've done through network marketing, and I think it's going to pay off, because it is virtual, and because you can have a customer base all around the world, sitting wherever it is that you're sitting. So I would say to you, have you had success with it? Have you enjoyed it? You've gone from one to the other. That suggests one of two things. You've experienced success, so you want more, or you experienced disappointment, so you wanted to try another one. What was it?
Kind of, it was a mixture of what was going on in my life. When I started, my 30 and 33-year-old children were babies. So I was trying to work from home and be able to take care of my kids. And so it was partially struggling. But what I found is I really enjoy the culture of each one of the organizations I've been a part of and the network of like a family that we develop. So I learned things from the other people that were involved in the company. And each time, like one company I was with, it was called EcoQuest, we were selling air purifiers. Well, all of a sudden they changed the laws and we couldn't sell them in California. So it was crazy stuff like that would happen. My last company I was with was World Ventures, which was a travel club. But once COVID hit, people weren't traveling. So they ended up merging with a company known as Secret, where we now sell health products and skincare in addition to travel. So sometimes things happened in laws or changes in the company that I had to go because my situation either changed with my kids or because the laws changed and I could no longer sell the product.
Right. You know what I call that? I call it that 4-letter word. It's that 4-letter word called life, L-I-F-E. It's a 4-letter word and it happens all the time. And it happens the way it's going to happen. Sadly, with a lot of the network marketing companies, what happened was there was really problems with the management. And a lot of network marketing companies were taking in like, gangster amounts of money and not putting it back into either product development, compensation, whatever. There were a handful of people living the big grand lifestyle. That was a choice that they made. But a lot of pretty reputable companies that people have shared with me and experiences similar. And who am I talking to, by the way? I don't see the name.
Terry Young.
Thank you. Is that they went through things like that. But if you love the culture of it, because it is a culture, that's a perfect word for it. It is a culture. You kind of have built-in coaches. You kind of have built-in mentors. And if that works for you, it's a wonderful broad umbrella to exist underneath, and you can make a lot of money. A lot of very, very, but I struggle with this with network marketing. Do you have to be a great leader or do you have to be a really great follower? Think about that. Because in network marketing companies, they have processes, they have programs, they have protocol, and they want you to follow that. And for someone like me, I had one network marketing experience many, many years ago, and it was all about just do it, just do it, just do it. That wasn't who I was. That's not who I am. So that didn't work for me. But again, so many of them are restructuring, much simpler compensation plans, much easier entry points. So a lot of people, whether you're using it as supplemental income or your full income, listen, I have some dear friends. I wish I were making the money that they're making. And they've been in network marketing for 30 plus years. And you know what they did? One of them in particular that I'm thinking of, you know what she did? She kept up with technology. So she learned from the marketing perspective. So if you're selling a great product and that's all that it is, and you love the product, then you're an example of the product. If your success in network marketing requires your ability to recruit people, and you're just not good at recruiting people, maybe that's not the best. Some of the network marketing companies now, they're saying you can earn fast, you can earn slow. And I love that option because it gives you the choice. You can recruit, and make faster money right up front, and then just have to keep recruiting. There's tremendous attrition in that. Or you can build a customer base where your customers, and you want to always keep building that, of course, but where your customer base is going to continue to use the products and or the services. And you don't have to keep recruiting because you have a good customer base. So I don't know which company you're with now, but if you want to get in touch with me, I happen to know a really great network marketing company right now. If if you want to get in touch with me, I'd be happy to share that information with you.
Well, right now I'm more on the recruitment, the customer base. So I'm taking the concept of the company, which is Healthy Living, and I'm building a podcast around it.
Oh,
And
okay.
going to build a community of people that are health-minded and will use the product more or less as an affiliate. But I will also be looking at other products that are health-minded and skincare.
Well, you, my dear, have just connected all the dots. Bingo, you win. Because what you've just done is you are putting increased value on technology. So you're creating a podcast to market a product, to build a customer base for a product that you don't have to manufacture, you don't have to inventory. I imagine you don't have to ship it. Is that correct?
Correct.
You are one smart lady. And I hope you're going to make a lot of money doing it. And then as people are traveling, their skin is going to look so good. So it's a win-win. Love it.
That's exactly what I plan on doing.
Beautiful. All the luck in the world.
Thank you.
Good plan.
Okay.
Teresa had some questions.
Yes.
I just kind of wrote them up. You had mentioned about mentorship. Let's see. I'm so sorry. I'm still caught up on the other stuff. Dawn, can you explain my questioning a little bit to open it up?
Yeah. So she said if women just take a chance, they will end up homeless. Most homemakers who start business are not savvy enough to succeed. Yes, mentorship, but you don't mention the cost of mentor, another expense. And then she also said, can a mentor invest in their client? Say, okay, pay me what you can, but when you become successful, remember me.
I mean, are you asking me if that's possible? I'm sure that you can find some people who are out there like that. I want to say this. There's always risk-reward analysis in anything. You can't get away from that. It's just in life. If you're contemplating starting a business and you're looking for a business coach or a mentor, and there's a difference, years ago, there was a very distinct difference between a mentor and a coach, and we've kind of melded them together. A mentor, by the old definition, was someone who took you under their wing. It could have been an elder neighbor. It could have been a professor of yours in school. It could have been anybody. Mine was my dad, which was a very natural. That's a relationship where they take you under their wing. And often there is no charge for that. But people are now using mentor and coaching as the same thing, for which there is typically a fee, because that coach is earning their living by helping you find the best way for you to earn your living. So it's more than fair and certainly not unreasonable for a coach to be paid for their services. I would say this, and I say this from experience of having spoken to so many women who started a coaching business. And I would say, and my coaching business, I never started a coaching business. My coaching came as a natural offspring just from the work that I do, that people would come to me and then you start coaching them. And I've coached a lot of people where I didn't get paid for it, because when you can, and you do what you can do. But there should be an anticipation, if you're paying a good coach, that you would pay a fee. So let's go back to the risk reward. If you're looking to start a business and you're entertaining talking to a business coach for the how-to, the best way, what have you, that coach, though being paid to coach you, could end up in the long run saving you a tremendous amount of money because of mistakes that you may have made if you weren't being coached properly. Or if you made, I don't want to say mistakes along the way, but if you were seeing very, in a very horizontal way and you needed to see more vertically. So that's the risk reward for a coach. Does that answer your question? Can you find someone later on who says, remember me when you're successful? What a beautiful thought. That's almost like are you talking about entering into a contract? Okay, I'll be your partner. You're going to give me 20% of your profits when you succeed. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. I would never, ever, that to me would be unethical for me. It's not illegal, but for me, it would be unethical. It's not illegal, but for me, it would be unethical. But do you have somebody? Is there someone who's offered to coach you at no cost? Are you assessing their ability to do so? Who asked whose question was that?
Oh, hi. I was just speaking on behalf of so many women that I meet. You know, they're homemakers. They're not as savvy, and they just want to start a business just to get something going. And one of their complaints is that, is finding a coach, specifically when they don't really know exactly where they're going. They're just kind of like, I got to start a business. I have to get it going, And so they might have a little plan and everything, but a coach, when you mean a coach, does that mean a relative? Does that mean somebody specific to the industry that you're going into? What would propel them to, be a little more, get a little more action on what their plans are, whatever their project?
Okay, first comment is that if someone is saying, I just have to start a business, I don't know what I want to do, I don't know how I'm going to do it, I don't think I should talk, that's the person who needs a coach the most, to be honest with you. And it might be a very short, I don't want to say relationship, but it might be a very short exchange of the services for payment if you have a coach. I don't think that family is the best to go to. It's human nature that they're going to want to protect you, and sadly or naturally, they err on the side of negativity. I've started businesses. I never told my brothers and sisters I was doing it. Why? Because it wasn't going to change my mind. I didn't want their negative input. They loved me dearly, but I didn't want their negativity. I didn't want them to feel that they had to protect me. And I didn't want them being like a helicopter over my head. I didn't want that. So if I were willing to do it, I were willing to put in the work and be accountable for it, which is what my mentor, my dad, always said to me. If you're willing to do the work, and you're willing to be accountable for the outcome, do it. That's the formula. That's the formula. I was blessed with a great mentor. So if you can find a mentor, find a mentor. The mentor typically finds you, by the way. Otherwise, you need a coach. You need a coach. So, and I've spoken to so many women who said, I want to start a business. Tell me about it. Well, I'm pregnant now. And I'm going to wait until my child is in kindergarten, which is what, like 5 years? And then I want to start a business. And I'm like, okay, what do you think about? I don't know. Okay. Are you setting money aside for it? No, because I don't know how much that's a pipe dream. That's a pipe dream. I'm going to share a story. I was in a business many, many years ago, and one of my sisters was my partner at that time. We were so successful in what we were doing. We had people literally coming out of the woodworks for us to help them set up the same kind of a business. And we helped a lot of them set up the business. What were we paid for? We were paid for the equipment that we distributed. We were paid for the training that we did, the business in a box, if you will, that we provided them. And we were there for ongoing support. This was back in the 80s, and it was here on Long Island in New York, and there was a lot of money flowing around, and there were a lot of women who said, I want to start a business. And their husbands, and I spoke to the husbands, were like, oh, how much is this going to cost me? How much is this going to cost me? Somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 was typically what it would cost. I had some of these women who were now business owners. They owned a business. Called me and said, what am I doing wrong? And I said, well, I don't know. What are you doing wrong? One woman actually said to me, well, I thought all I wanted to do was show up, pick up the money, and take it to the bank. I'm now working 40 hours a week. And I said to her, what are you doing wrong? I said, what am I doing wrong? I'm working 80 hours a week. But I was taking money to the bank. So a lot of women, maybe there's this aura of being in business and being a business owner and being an entrepreneur. Owning a business is not the same as being an entrepreneur. Desiree, wouldn't you agree with me? Owning a business because you were afforded to put yourself into business does not an entrepreneur make you. That makes you a business owner.
And the thing is that, I think that just the idea, if you're going to be a school teacher, you invest in your training. If you're going to be an attorney, you invest in your training. If you're going to be a doctor, you invest in training. If you're going to sell jewelry, you've just joined how to make the jewelry. So if you're going to go in business, the idea that you think you can do it for absolutely positively nothing is somewhat unrealistic, because I don't know what you really can do, whether you want to be a tennis player, whether you want to be a musician or singer, whatever it is, you need some kind of training. So you're going to pay one way or the other. Either you pay a coach for the sure, fast, easier road, less traveled, or you can pay by doing all the bumps and grumps yourself and through time and losing a lot of money. So it's an investment either way. If you are designed to be in business, not everyone, like we talked about earlier, is designed to be an entrepreneur. So some people just know if they have this idea, they want a free ride, then they should go get a job. Okay, so yes, there's so many organizations that offer support. There's so much information on the internet now that anyone can learn anything. If you spend hours at any one thing, 7 hours at any one thing, you can become very well knowledgeable about that business. There's so much free information out there. So that if you want to go that route, there's also organizations like attending some of our events that are free for them to go on Wednesdays, and they have different topics and so forth. So many free things available where you can get ideas, mentorship, ask questions, get ideas, to be able to move your business forward. But if you're not willing to make the investment any way, shape, or form, whether it's time or money, then it's not for you. You get a job, and then that way you show up and you will get paid, and that's it. It's not for everybody. So if you're going to be a dancer, you don't expect to have lessons. There's programs, there's playgrounds, there's programs where you can get lessons for free. But if you want to get a person to give you private lessons, then you're going to compensate them, because it's a business. I wouldn't want and I wouldn't respect a business coach to teach me how to run my business if they know how to run their own business, which is monetizing their own business.
Exactly, right.
So if a business coach is not a good business coach, if she has no value for her time and her worth or her knowledge and experience, that's not a value. Now, if someone decides to gift you, something, or partner with you, which people gift, whatever, that's different. But to go out there looking for that, I don't know. I think first it starts with your mindset. And if your mindset, I want to see who I can get to invest their time in me with a maybe, that could happen. Anything can happen. I do believe in miracles, and things can happen. And again, there's so much free advice available out there. So there's no excuse. They can take the initiative to find it in different groups and organizations, or they can go to YouTube and find and learn everything you need to know.
Yeah, and vet your coach, interview your coach. If you're going to engage with a coach, make sure that he or she is the right person for you. And a coach doesn't have to be someone who's specifically from the exact same industry that you're looking to get into. That you might call an expert in that field, who could be a coach. But a coach is someone who understands business, who understands the process. And sometimes, and I'm going to say this, I've learned a lot from the people that I've coached about their specific business. If you get someone who's too close to the business that you've been in, they're going to resurrect all of their own problems. I don't know that they can really be quite as objective, maybe, as someone who's just looking at you as a business coach. And I want to further a point that Desiree so wisely made, is that no matter what your area of expertise is, or what you do as a dancer, as an athlete, as an entertainer, whatever it is, learning, and Frances is a great example of this, learning can never stop. Growth can never stop. Starting the business is not the arrival point of the destination. It's the beginning. It's where you get on that journey. So, you can't say, I did it, I started a business, which I experienced that too many women, who could afford to pay the price to get into business, and they just lost everything. But so there's so many ways of looking at it. So seek good advice, vet your coaches, and be comfortable, because it's a beautiful relationship when you have that with a coach, where you have someone that you trust and you feel that transparency, because the point of the coach is not to give you the answers. It's not to tell you what to do. It's to help you discover those answers within yourself, because they are there. That is where they lie, and that's the only place that they should come from, is your own self-discovery, your own self-recognition and growth and realization of what it is that you want to do. They're just there. We're just there to kind of, nudge it out of you a little bit. Dare to say it, dare to think it, dare to be it. And one step at a time, you can be that.
And I know sometimes sometimes it can be hard deciding what kind of business you're going to get in, just in anything. Like, we're in real estate, it's just hard to decide what asset class you're going to be in. If you're in multi-level marketing, it's hard to decide what company you want to go in. So you do your time, you do some due diligence and you explore it. Again, to Frances' credit, she did explore this years, and she tried this and she
Yes,
tried that, and she tried different things, and sometimes you don't know it until you try, just like relationships. You don't know how you would, fall in love with this person or how it's going to be until you actually make that commitment in one way, shape, or form. So I said, go by what you enjoy doing, and you
yes.
don't consider work. I don't consider my work. I even say, when people say, I hesitate to say I'm working because I don't feel like I'm working. I'm creating or doing something different. So if there's things that you enjoy doing, you don't feel like work because it is going to take the time. Tomorrow night we have our book club, and we talked to Jamie Lee Kern Lima, Jamie Kern Lima. I'm getting things mixed up today. And she spent 100-hour work weeks for 10 years. 100-hour work weeks for 10 years. She sold her company to L'Oreal for over $1 billion. But it didn't come by her doing it part-time. She spent 100-hour work weeks. Her and her husband had 100-hour work weeks for almost
And I
10 years.
bet they had business coaches all along. I would just
Yeah.
hazard to guess that. And a great way is you just learn from other people's mistakes, not necessarily your coach's mistakes, but avoid making the mistakes that you would make without a coach. But that's just one aspect of all of this. So
Thank you for asking. Thank you for sharing that, Teresa, because a lot of ladies may be in that. That's a common space to be in when you're trying to make those decisions. So thanks for asking. Who else has a comment or thought? You got ladies that seem quiet out there. We have a few minutes left. So who else has a thought, a comment?
I was just going to bring it back to technology and pivoting. I've learned a ton from being on groups in Facebook where somebody asks a question and 15 people collaborate and give an answer. And so it's again using technology for that insight and knowledge that you wouldn't have. So although I haven't done a lot of property management, I am learning a lot about property management because I'm on 2 landlord groups for our area. So all of the laws, they're being posted every time, like my tenant did this and whatever, and then people are talking about it. And so I've learned a ton just from that, which is free, and also then engaging and having people, say, yeah, that's right, or that's not right, or whatever. So that's another way of using technology at this point to as your mentor or as your collaborators.
yeah, that's a
Mhm.
collaborator, and that's a great experience because when you
Yeah,
get
it's
people
a great.
together, you have exponential reach.
Mhm.
2 people takes you to 4, to 8, to 16. That growth doesn't stop. That's great collaboration. Coaching, unless you're doing like group coaching, whatever, is that one-on-one. So it is quite different. But that is such a great, Dawn, you're absolutely right. And again, it's just sharing the information, and I just don't understand why people wouldn't want to do that if they can do that. Sharing information, sharing resources. Um, and I'm so glad that you're enjoying it, and keep doing that. And I'm sure that you are providing as much knowledge and help to others as you're feeling they're giving to you. And that's the beauty of it. It's the give and the take.
Yeah, and that's a great resource, Dawn. There's lots of LinkedIn groups, there's lots of Facebook groups that you can join. There's a lot of meetup groups. You can just, go to meetup and put into what your topics are and just kind of explore so you can find out, again, the information that you need from start, from start to finish. So there's a lot of resources that are totally free that people can actually take the initiative and do that until they get some cash, until they really get specific on what they
Yeah.
need and want, and then be able to.
And you know what I love about those too, Desiree, Dawn, everybody, is that sometimes when you're in those groups and those moments with other people, that like-minded people term that we hear all the time, is that you realize you're doing it all right. It validates you. You're saying,
Mhm.
I'm on the right track. Oh, that's what I did. That's where I went. Oh, good for me. That's a wonderful feeling. And that validation, that self-recognition, that proof, positive. And so now you're not living in doubt or fear. You're like, okay, what's next? Now I take the next step. So those are great. Those are great, great ways to learn about others and a lot about yourself too.
And it's also great motivation. A lot of times as an entrepreneur, especially if you're just starting out, you just don't, you may not find that community in your family or your friends. So when she mentioned like homemakers and so forth, sometimes you're around other mothers and so forth that's not having that conversation. So it gets you out into a conversation of people, of like-minded people, as you mentioned. And it also gives you accountability, showing up every week, showing up, committing to showing up. It gives you a plug in and keeps your dream alive, because it's really overwhelming if you're trying to do it all alone. But when you hear other people's experiences, you're able to see that you're not alone, and you also get encouragement, and then you can also get partners, accountability partners, or mentoring partners are also another way where you can get a small group that has a little knowledge, maybe a little bit more than you, but everyone can contribute to that. So there's a lot of ways of being able to work that until you're able to,
I just wanted to do a plug for Second Sunday, because Second Sunday coming up in May will be about mothers, and it's on Mother's Day. So mothers making great businesses.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Second Sunday, if you those mothers that are trying to figure out what to do, we'll have 3 mothers there that have made millions in their businesses. And again, it's only an hour and a half, and so it'll be a great opportunity for you to meet them, get ideas from them, and to thank you, Dawn. Yeah, second Sunday, mark your calendars. Stay connected. Any other thoughts, comments, ideas, questions, feedback?
I'll just make a final thought if we're getting near the end. Find what you're passionate about. Be led by that. To the point of homemakers, and I don't know how many households are just one income earners, and I'm talking like, absent of the pandemic. Culturally, we've kind of gotten to the 2 income household, but so many women, bloggers have identified a problem, I'll say, or a situation in her own life, and then wonders, am I the only one? Can I be the only one? And then explores that and finds that, no, you're not the only one. There's potentially tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of others who are experiencing the same thing. Then you have a market. So if your passion, what you're passionate about and what you're capable of, and as Desiree was saying earlier, where your education has been, where your training has been, what you've learned, what you might be licensed in, just try to take it to the next level. Realize that there's always risk. There's tremendous responsibility. When it works out, there's tremendous satisfaction. And the best part when it works out, for me, has always been not that it worked out for me. It meant that what I wanted to do has helped other people, that it solved issues for them. It's expanded their horizons, her horizons. It's given other people hope for what they might be able to do, or it's assured them perhaps what they shouldn't do or can't do. And for me, there's no greater satisfaction in that, in saying that in service to other people, that what a wonderful way to live a life, what a wonderful way to earn a living, and to know that that is so possible. So that's my passion. That's what sings to me. And so for Frances, obviously, the animals and everything else, her passion, what sings to her, if you can take your passion and turn your passion into profit and turn it into possibility for other people, what a magnificent way to spend what we don't call a work day. It's 24/7 as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. So I would just say that, find your passion.
So thank you so much, Beth. I'm sorry, was someone about to say something? How can one become a member of your organization? Tell us about.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. You can just go to THEGSEW, which stands for the Global Society of Empowered Women.com. So THEGSEW.com. And up in the upper right, it just says join. That'll put you on our mailing list. So you will begin. We go through all those submissions. We get some crazy ones. And it'll get you on our mailing list so that you will be made aware of everything else that's coming up that you might have an interest in. And please feel free to contact me. May I say that they could contact me directly, Desiree? Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
You put it in the chat.
Oh, I'm too far
They
from the
have your
computer to do
information
that.
on
It's
the
just
chat.
Beth. It's Beth, BETH at THEGSEW. And if there's any way that I can help you, anything that you might have wished to say but didn't want to say it in this forum, or something that you think of later on, please reach out to me. Would love to hear from you. And
Is there a cost for the membership? Do they have to?
no, there is no cost to get on the mailing list.
Okay.
We have different levels of membership. Our original format we're not utilizing anymore, but you will be there. You will be able to receive all of the information. Going back to what we said much earlier in the conversation, a lot of the people who we affiliate with, who we do joint ventures with, it's just a great way for us to reach back to you to share the information. So just go on there. There's no cost. And then take a look at some of those other technologies that Desiree was referring to that are right on our homepage right now. There is a promotion right now for a great event that I think you women would so love. It's called Global Conversation Amongst Women. And it's on April 21st. It's actually a week from today. It got here so quickly. And it's just 7 women who, like other women who, like myself, head women's organizations, coming together and talking about very timely subjects. So if you go to the GSEW and go down a little bit, it's the promotional video right now. You can just go log on right there. It's an adorable little video, and register and be part of that event. And even if you can't be live on it, you'll receive a recorded version of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing your expertise with us. Ladies, any other questions or closing comments?
Thank you so much, Beth. This was really nourishing for us.
Well, thank you. That's so kind. And I want to thank Desiree for all that she continues to do and has done for so many years in inspiring women to aspire to get to their next level. I was on the call on Sunday. It was brilliant. I learned so much about Desiree and her own entrepreneurial path. And it was so amazing, Desiree, to your credit, that anytime there were an obstacle, she turned it into an opportunity. That's the true gift, the true spirit, and the true vision of an entrepreneur. When there's an obstacle, turn it into an opportunity. And she did that, and she shared some really, really great stories. So I thank you, and I really enjoyed being part of that on Sunday.
Thank you. Well, hopefully we'll see you next time. So thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned. Tomorrow night, again, is our book club. So it's totally free. If you're available, just come. If you've read the book, fantastic. If you haven't read the book, come and join us. You can hear why you want to read the book. And just again, it's another way to connect. It's another way to get ideas of what women are doing, what women are not doing, and how they've done it. So, we're happy to see you and happy to support you in your mission. So until we meet again, remember, homework is where you can live where you work where you live, anywhere in the world. Bye now.
Blessings to everybody.
Thank you, Beth.